So this was shared with me by Steven. Steven thought I would like this, and Steven is right. I do like this. You know that one of the big things we talk about on this show is net neutrality and municipal broadband. Net neutrality, of course, is the policy that preserves a free and open internet. It's what we've had since the advent of the internet. We lost it recently with Trump's FCC, and we're trying to get it back. Without it, the internet can be carved up into cable television 2.0. Which means all the content you get online will be via subscription services owned by the corporate media, and shows like this will not be able to exist anymore. And you'll have to pay more for everything. So municipal broadband is taking the internet out of these, out of the hands of Comcast, out of the hands of AT&T, and putting it into the hands of cities and municipalities where net neutrality is written into the charter. So you're going to get better internet at a better price, and it's going to be preserved with the internet as we know it. So basically, years from now, we're not telling our children and our grandchildren what the internet used to be like. All right, so here is a report that indicates that city-owned internet, municipal broadband, is winning nationwide. So check this out. This is from In These Times. With net neutrality acts, local governments are racing to save the open internet. Internet service providers like Comcast and Verizon are free to slow down, block, or prioritize internet traffic as they wish without interference by the federal government. That's the effect of an October ruling by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals upholding the 2017 rule that gutted net neutrality. This is grossly unpopular with the American people, as this article points out, but the effort is underway. So another thing that the court ruled recently was that states and municipalities can have their own net neutrality rules. So this references a recent court ruling. That court ruling upheld the repeal of net neutrality, but that court ruling also ruled that states and municipalities can have their own net neutrality laws, and the federal government can't stop that. Overall, I think this was a win. Now, the effort is underway. Governors in 6 states, Hawaii, Montana, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, and Vermont, have already signed executive orders enforcing net neutrality by prohibiting state agencies from doing business with ISPs, that's internet service providers, that limit customers' online access. 4 states have passed their own laws requiring internet companies to treat all online content equally. California, Oregon, Washington, and Vermont. A New Hampshire bill is also in the works. More than 100 mayors. I wanted my mayor to be among those 100 mayors. He refused. But more than 100 mayors representing both large urban centers such as San Francisco and small cities such as Edmond, Oklahoma, have pledged not to sign contracts with internet service providers that violate net neutrality. That was a mayor's petition started by Free Press. I live in Pasadena, California. I asked my mayor to sign that pledge. He refused to do so. So if you live in Pasadena, California, and you don't like the fact that our mayor said no to that pledge, let him know, because he said no to it. These mayors are leveraging the lucrative contracts that their municipalities have with internet providers to wire public schools, libraries, and local government buildings to pressure these companies into observing net neutrality. The emerging patchwork, getting back to the article here, the emerging patchwork of local and state level net neutrality legislation could help ensure that millions of Americans have access to an open internet. However, people living outside of these enclaves will still be vulnerable to the whims of for-profit internet service providers. Now, here's the deal. That is true. However, all net neutrality state bills help everybody, because the more state bills that are out there, the less these ISPs can unroll packages that screw with net neutrality, because it's prohibited in too many states. What I'm getting at is, if California and New York have strong net neutrality protections, it's going to screw these companies over because they can't unroll things in 2 of the biggest markets. So they're not going to be able to screw over everyone else. You see what I mean? All right. So now here's the part of the article that gets to municipal broadband. Cities build their own. A different vision of how the internet could operate is already taking shape across the United States. In recent years, many cities and towns around the country have built their own broadband networks. These communities are often seeking to provide affordable high-speed internet service to neighborhoods that the for-profit network providers aren't adequately serving. One of the best-known efforts is in the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee, which built its own fiber optic network in 2009. Okay. By the way, Chattanooga, Tennessee, best internet in the country, some of the best internet in the world, actually. And residents pay a cheaper price than most people pay for internet here. They get higher speeds, faster internet, than anywhere else in the country, and they pay less money for it. Why? Because they built their own and they were ahead of the curve and they served the city. All right, so let's see what else is in here. Let me go to this last part here. Thinking bigger. A number of much larger scale public broadband initiatives have also been proposed to combat the power of giant internet companies. In the 2018 election cycle, Democratic gubernatorial candidates from Vermont and Michigan proposed building publicly owned statewide internet networks. Several Democratic presidential candidates have announced plans to build thousands of miles of publicly owned high-speed internet connections. They vary in the details, but all are responses to the concentration of corporate control over internet access. Bernie Sanders does have a plan for public broadband. Together, these initiatives reflect a growing understanding that Americans need a more expansive version of an open internet to truly realize the democratic promise of an internet that reaches everyone. High-quality, affordable, restriction-free internet access can come from publicly owned providers that answer directly to the people. In our view, this is the article, and in the eyes of a growing number of Americans, the broadband industry uses its entrenched market power to serve itself, not the public. Amen. This is a great article, and they're absolutely right. And I would add on to it, without a free and open internet, it's going to be really hard to solve the rest of our problems. The internet is our main communication vehicle in 2019. It just is. The internet is essential to our lives. It is a utility in our lives. It should be treated as such. Net neutrality assures that it is treated as a utility in our lives, that it is treated like flowing water. And municipal broadband puts the internet into the hands of cities where they can build better infrastructure at a more affordable price. Why? Because these for-profit entities, your Comcast, your AT&Ts, they don't focus on building a quality product for you. They focus on making their profit margins as high as possible. So if they build lousier infrastructure just because they can, because they have an organized duopoly, they're going to do that. And they don't care that it's not a quality product for you. They just want to make as much money as possible. Have you ever had a good experience with Comcast customer service? I don't think anyone has. I don't think such a thing exists. So this article is absolutely right. And if you want to learn more about trying to bring municipal broadband to your community, there's a playlist on my channel, youtube.com/Ron Placone. If this is your first time here, there's a playlist on my channel entitled Municipal Broadband Net Neutrality. And those videos provide a lot of instructions on how to start pursuing municipal broadband in your community. It starts by going to a city council meeting, and this is something you can act on locally. And it's something I'm working on here in Pasadena. I'm trying to get municipal broadband in my community, and I'm trying to provide resources nationwide, and I'm trying to get a more formal structure that involves a street team nationwide, that every city is going to have a representative. I'm trying to do that. It is an uphill battle. If you want to help out in this, a good place to do it is patreon.com/Ron Placone, because it's part of the mission of Get Your News On with Ron. So supporting the show will help us get closer to that goal. Yeah, thank you for sharing this, Stephen. You thought this would be right up my alley, and you are 110% right. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and